What about it, YouTube? Okay, if we look at the definition of religion, this is what it says. And I'm just going to have to disagree. Because the definitions they give, that first definition is the definition of faith, not religion. Faith is the belief in God. Okay? Religion is an institution that claims that it can bring you to God. But belief in God is not religion. Religion is institutionalized faith. That's how I see it. And Judaism is special because it is not institutionalized to bring people closer to God. Not within the group, and certainly not without the group. So, my definition of a religion is an open institution that claims to be able to bring people to God. Judaism isn't proselyting. Judaism, at its core, does not accept converts. Right? They tongue-in-cheek accept converts just so that they can use them, like Ivanka Trump for political power or whatever. But I mean, if you get them alone, if you get the rabbis together and you ask them, it's in their DNA. And I have to disagree with Jesse Lee Peterson, who says that racism doesn't exist and has never existed. He may be right about everyone except Judaism, because it is the institutionalized rejection of Jesus. And it is the fountainhead of all bigotry and ethnic hatred, or racism. Now, let's move over to World War II and allow me to prove my point. Judaism, again, is not even a religion, and the only faith it has is in themselves being God, because religion is an institution with open arms. Judaism is not. Judaism is the institutionalized rejection of Jesus in all forms of it. It welcomes anyone into the group. An atheist Jew, a Reformed Jew, an Orthodox Jew. All of it is the institutionalized rejection of Jesus. So while we constantly are told that we need to shed a tear, cry a tear for the innocent lives lost in World War II. And of all the lives lost in World War II, there are certain lives that were special because they have a name for their suffering. It's called the lolohoax. The Holocaust. I call it the lolohoax. So while they're pretending that they're being systematically eradicated by the evils of men, by the evils of racism, let's see what was really happening in World War II. The only two Christian cities in Japan bombed with atomic bombs. The only two Christian cities in Japan bombed. I heard on a radio program a few days ago and had to check it out on the internet. Can this be true? If so, what are the implications? Japan, a well-planned Christian real Holocaust. Some time ago I came across a booklet titled Failure at Nuremberg. On the back cover was a statement by Taylor Caldwell, the American novelist. After expressing his outrage at the trials, he wrote, But the bombing of the only two Christian cities in Japan in August 1945 via the atomic bomb calls to high heaven for retribution. Amen. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Christian cities, was this true? This letter focuses on Nagasaki because while Hiroshima has received little attention, Nagasaki has received none. Therefore, it has been called the inferior A-bomb city. Christianity came to Japan in 1549 when St. Francis Xavier came from Portugal and landed near Nagasaki. It was a place of beauty, a deep sea port surrounded by hills. He stayed here for a year, learned the language, and began to spread the word. Conversation was not difficult. By the early 1600s, 10% of Japanese were Christians. Nagasaki was becoming the gateway and center for Western culture. For the Jews, the main settlement was in Yokohama, 17 miles from Tokyo, the capital. Here they could influence the government, and that they did. They developed a closed money relationship. Kobe was another Jewish settlement. When Japan closed its doors to all foreign traders, the Dutch Jews were the only ones with the privilege of trading. Before and during World War II, Kobe was a staging area where Jews from Poland and Russia were kept while arrangements were made to send them to North America. From the middle of the 17th century, for 200 years, Christians were persecuted. Many were killed, many went underground. When in 1859, Japan was forced to open its doors to foreigners, 20,000 Christians came out of hiding in Urikami, a suburb of Nagasaki. They had practiced their faith secretly for 200 years. With tears of joy, they came forth, being able now to be Christians openly. In 1895, they built the Urakami Roman Catholic Cathedral, was the largest in all Asia, the symbol of Christianity. The Christian faith was regaining much of the ground it had lost because of centuries of persecution. But then the war and the bomb. There have been many words to justify the bombing and many more words condemning them. The justification is that more Allied lives would have been lost if the bombs had not been dropped because the Allies had planned a bloody invasion of Japan. Condemnation of the bombings rests on the fact that Japan was a beaten nation. It was suing for peace using Russia as the go-between. Then Russia turned against Japan. Japan could not have held out much beyond October 1945. In fact, Japan was finished in September 1944 when the Allies engulfed Japan in a total sea and air blockade. Amongst those who were opposed to dropping the bomb were General Dwight Eisenhower, Dwight D., General Douglas MacArthur, Fleet Admiral William Leahy, General Carl Spaatz, Brigadier General Carter Clark, Major General Curtis LeMay, Admiral Ernest King, and Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. Notice that these men were not humanitarians, nor religious leaders, nor intellectuals. They were top-flight military men who were in positions to assess the situation. General Eisenhower sums it up. My grave misgivings, first on the basis that Japan was already defeated and that dropping the bomb was completely unnecessary, and secondly because I thought that our country should avoid shocking the world opinion by the use of a weapon no longer necessary to save American lives. The United States Strategic Bombing Survey explains, based on a detailed investigation of the facts and supported by the testimony of the surviving Japanese leaders involved, it is the survey's opinion that certainly prior to 31 December 1945 and all probability prior to 1 November 1945, Japan would have surrendered even if the bombs had not been dropped, even if Russia had not entered the war, and even if no invasion had been planned or contemplated. The consensus was that the bomb was completely unnecessary from a military point of view. Even those who had given argument for dropping the first bomb on Hiroshima were at a loss to vindicate dropping the second bomb 3 days later over Nagasaki. This bomb, referred to as Fat Man, was not a uranium bomb like the one dropped on Hiroshima. It was a plutonium bomb with twice the power of the first bomb. This was saved for a military insignificant city. Obviously, it was a political decision. By whom and why? Small hat alert. Of all the material I read, only one writer, Lowell Ponty, points a finger straight at the Marxocrats in the Roosevelt-Truman administration. The sequence of events justified his conclusion. It was reported that Nagasaki was not on the list of targets. At the last minute, the order came to replace Kyoto with Nagasaki. Although there was a large Mitsubishi plant near Nagasaki, the pilot went a mile off course to Urakami. There he dropped the bomb on the Urakami Cathedral at almost ground zero, thus killing 45,000 instantly, and another 50,000 died in the next weeks ahead. In the next few weeks. Sorry. Who in Washington was capable of such a barbarous act? More than one, no doubt, but one man stands out above the rest. He was Henry Morganthoue Jr. He was responsible for the diabolical Morganthoue Plan for peace in post-war Germany. He was close to Roosevelt throughout Roosevelt's presidency. That was when the plan to drop the bomb was hatched and the two Christian cities were to be the targets. Morganthoue was a prominent Zionist. Let that soak in. He was chairman of the American Financial and Development Corporation for Israel, financial advisor to Israel, and chairman of the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. If the bomb had been dropped on Yokohama and 6,000 were killed, the media would be in a state of perpetual hysterics. We would be reminded in every conceivable way, every year, every month, every day, we could not escape it. But there were no Jews in Nagasaki, just Christians and Gentiles of other faiths, not worth the consolation of remembrance. And so goodbye to the cathedral, the symbol of Christianity in Asia. Goodbye to 5,000 years of Christian work, suffering and dying before World War II. Christianity was on its way to sweeping Asia. Today, less than 1% of Japanese are Christian. Japan has been secularized. That means that money, worship has replaced moral and spiritual values. Just another day, another dollar, and taxes eat 80% of the dollar. I'm almost speechless. And you know what? I love everyone individually because I'm called to. I'm called to love my enemies. I'm called to love my neighbor. So I love everyone individually. But I will not love the institutionalized rejection of Jesus. This is absolutely abhorrent. This article needs to be pasted on every synagogue, on every Holocaust museum. And they can call it anti-Semite all they want. Try and explain how that's anti-Semite. To want to have it explained why a Jew killed thousands and thousands of Christians for no good reason. And we have to sit here and cry about the lolohoax. I'm absolutely disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted. This begs to be exposed. This begs for an explanation. This should be sent to Trump, and we should have him explain what he expects of Israel and the Jews in response to this. It's absolutely deplorable. And to have these people running the money, running the media, running the porn, running the military-industrial complex, running the politics, running the judicial, I'm tired of it. I'm absolutely tired of it. This needs to be exposed. This needs to be talked about. This is so shameful. Our country went about killing thousands of Christians at the end of a war for no reason? Because of a Jew? And you want me to cry about your holocaust? I've had it. This right here breaks my heart in two. And I hope that I'm not the only one that feels this way. This needs to go out to the ADL. This needs to go out to the Southern Poverty Law Centers. This needs to go out to every daggone small hat and say, explain this. Explain this. And where's our museums for this? That's it.